Go. Welcome everyone to Admissions Live, the weekly web show for college admissions professionals. We broadcast on the Higher Ed Live network, a product of ED Universe Media. Tune into Admissions Live on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on higheredlive.com and join the conversation on Twitter using the Admissions Live hashtag. I'm your host, Ashley Hennigan, and tonight I'm joined by a diverse group of higher ed professionals and students who manage social media, and in just a moment we'll be chatting about Facebook groups for accepted students. But we can't do that without first giving a shout out to the sponsors that make Admissions Live possible. Admissions Live is sponsored by Zinch, and Zinch is hosting a webinar tomorrow focused on engaging the ever-elusive transfer student. So if you're involved in transfer admissions, you want to check out their webinar. It's free and open to your entire admissions team. You can email outreach@zinch.com, tweet @socialadmission, or visit zinch.com/webinars to sign up. Admissions Live is also sponsored by Welcome to College, where college visits are made simple. The mission at Welcome to College is to help students find colleges where they flourish. The team at Welcome to College believes it's all in the visit and have created free web and mobile applications to plan, rate, share, and compare the entire college visit process. Parents and high school counselors can also create an account and share their impressions. Check out Welcome to College today. All right. So I'm really excited about this show. I've been involved in using Facebook for accepted students since I could convince my director that it was a good idea. And I've since moved in a different direction with them, so I'm really curious to see where everyone else is with this, what kind of fun tips and tricks they have for us, some of the best practices that they're using within their different offices, and we have a really good mix for you to hear from tonight. So my guests are from all over. Admissions Live is going international tonight, bringing in our guests from York University, the Glendon campus. We have Courtney Malum and Krista McNamara. We also have returning guest Tim Netkritz from SUNY Oswego. We have Heather Casey with him tonight, one of his students, and then representing Oberlin College, the return guest from Higher Ed Live, but first guest on Admissions Live, Mayan Plout. So without further ado, I want to bring up our Google Hangout, and we've got Courtney up on the Hangout, and I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. Can you start by just giving folks a little introduction of yourself, what your role is at York, and a little bit of background, I guess, on how you've been involved in using Facebook for admitted students.
Yeah, for sure. My role, I'm the print and digital media specialist with Glendon campus. It's a really small liberal arts college located in Ontario. We're this satellite campus of Canada's third largest university. I came on the team at Glendon about 2 years ago, and before I was there was very little social media used there. It had started and then stopped, and then nothing really in recruitment whatsoever. So since the last 2 years, what we've been really involved with recruitment over Facebook. We've got Twitter, we've got blogs. We've recently started Instagram, Forespring. So we're trying to take advantage of a wide variety of different types of media to try and loop in different types of students from all different demographics and ages and stages and everything like that.
Great, and one of your students is also joining us tonight.
Yes, this is Krista.
Do you want to say hello?
Hi. Yeah, I'm a fourth-year student here at Glendon, and this is my first year as part of the e-ambassador team. So we're responsible for all the stuff that Courtney just said.
Excellent. Well, I'm really excited to have the student perspective tonight. Tim, you're joining us with one of your students as well. Can you say hello?
Hello. I'm Tim Netkritz. I call myself the social media canary for Oswego because I venture into all the coal mines and try to figure out what works and hope I don't get killed. Basically, I kind of was the first person to pick up on social media for the institution, and I'm just really lucky, I guess, that I've been able to keep going. What is it? The Ford the River using the Oregon Trail thing. I haven't died of dysentery yet, and But this is the first year we've really thrown ourselves into an accepted student community, and we were learning a lot pretty much on a daily basis. And Heather is one of my, I keep calling Heather my favorite intern. When there are no other interns around, it's pretty safe.
So Heather, how are you? How did you get involved in this project with Tim?
I've been working in the administrative building at SUNY Oswego this is my second year here, and I've worked in both the telecommunications office and the financial aid office, and I'm a broadcasting mass communications major, and I found out about this great social media internship through the public affairs office, which is where Tim comes in, and I'm working as one of the interns this semester as well as a student blogger, and I do social media for the campus TV station, WTOP.
Very, very cool. And then last, Mayan, where are you?
Hi,
Are you...
I'm Mayan Plow.
Hello.
I'm the social media coordinator at Oberlin College. It's been a long couple of days so far, and the week is not done yet. It's only Tuesday. I am a 2010 graduate of Oberlin, and actually I first got involved with Facebook groups for admitted students with my own incoming class, which was the first class to have high school students on Facebook already. And my first experience with like an accepted students community was actually on LiveJournal. It wasn't even on Facebook. But as soon as Facebook became a thing that we could use, we all joined a group and we all started like making up events and things that we'd like figure out and have fun doing when we got to campus. It was the first time I actually got to like meet the people that I was going to be classmates with. So that was started by the groups in 2000, I guess the classes of 2010, 11, and 12 were all started by the community. And by the point that we got to the class of 2013, the communications office like realized that there was a group of students who were anxious and really, really excited and wanted to talk about everything, and started taking over it from an official capacity. And I say taking over only in that we set up the page and would have some official voices there so people could connect to someone from admissions, someone from communications, and someone from residential education. And then from that point on, it was just a space for people to do whatever. And we fluctuated between the group option and the page option, and we are now in our, I guess, 7th straight year of an incoming class community on Facebook. We've already had our early decision 1 and 2 students get their acceptance letters in the end of this month as our regular decision. So our group actually topped out at 200 people yesterday or the day before, and only about 15, 20 of those people are people who are a part of the Oberlin community now. There are 6 students that we recruited to be a part of our admitted students group, and then there's someone from admissions, someone from Wes Ed, and a couple of students who are just super pumped about the incoming class. So that's the short version.
Very cool.
I will happily talk about whatever
Very,
else.
very cool. Well, I'm glad you did that kind of quick history for us about where it's come, because really in the past decade, we've seen so many changes within the enrollment world, and the way technology has changed and influenced all of the different kinds of things that we've done. And I just want to make a couple notes from the NACAC State of College Admissions report that came out this year that was an overview of the past decade, and they made a lot of mention to social media and its impact in that report, and I really appreciated that they did that. And so within the report, they note that in 2002, 37% of colleges were integrating social media into their online recruitment offerings, and by 2011, that was up to 97%. Now, they're including social media platforms as well as blogs and message boards and wikis, so that LiveJournal fits right in there, as well as online videos and podcasts. But really, where we're at today, in 2013, this is a piece that almost every single college is using for recruitment, for yield, certainly for retention, as well as you kind of move down through the funnel. But I think we're all using it in really different ways and exploring these different technologies as they come out and trying to figure out what works well and what doesn't work well. For me, I found that the most effective use of social media wasn't in the recruitment piece of students, but it really was after a student was admitted in this kind of post-accept time period, where students are caring a little bit less about you know, the basic facts and figures. How much do you cost? Do you have my major? Where are you located? Kind of information is really easy to find on the web, and they're looking for that information before they're accepted. After they're accepted, they're looking to really bond with the community, and they have questions that aren't easy to address on a static web page. And I think that's where social media and the relationship building that it offers plays such an important role for us in getting those students who've been admitted to helping them decide whether or not our institutions are a right fit for them to enroll in. So a question for the group to start out, are your groups that you're using just for students that have been accepted? Are they also for students that have applied and haven't been accepted yet? Are there any groups out there that are just for students who have committed to the university and said, I'm officially part of this incoming class? So I'm wondering how you differentiate, you know, who's invited to these groups, and then if you can talk a little bit about how you're inviting the students to the groups too. Tim, you're on camera now. Do you want to get started?
Awesome. Yeah, with us, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Karen Archibee in admissions, who's my partner in crime for this. She and admissions actually do the invitations they put out to the students, and it's any accepted students. And I can tell it goes in waves because we'll add like 70 on a given day. We're at about 600 right now. We, I think, accepted about 4,000 students. We'll probably get about 1,400 admission coming in, and these are obviously the most likely. And we even posted a poll early on saying, you know, where are you? Are you definitely coming to Oswego? Go Lakers! Are you leaning Oswego? Are you still undecided? And I've seen. Just through this, I've seen people go from the undecided to leaning, and some of the leaning to Oswego. It's almost like it'd be great to have time to check all that data. So we've been sending out. It's a closed community. We send out, or Karen's office sends out an email. They click on it and they join. Actually, I mean, there's a one-step approval, and then I have to approve it. I usually just mouse over, look at their. See if they actually look like students. If there's something really suspicious, I might take a step back because we know that there are party crashers who are trying to sell some sort of marketing thing. So far, they've all been kosher. No one's done anything crazy. We do have a proviso in there kind of saying, you know, you're expected to be a community member and that type of thing. And so it's been going great. Like I said, we pick them up in leaps and bounds. And one of the first things they do, we set a precedent. Essentially, early on, we just said, you know, we introduced ourselves or had people introduce themselves, and then pretty much when they come in, a few people lurk. A lot of people introduce themselves and say, "Oh, I'm a broadcasting major from Buffalo. Oh my God, I'm from the Buffalo area. I'm a broadcasting major." And so people make those connections right away, and then people are asking about things like clubs. Like we have some where it's a lot of interest in things like the Ice Effects, which is our synchronized skating team, equestrian. And
Campus media.
Yeah, campus media. But some of the stuff we found is people are interested in clubs we don't even think about, like cheerleading and that type of thing. We don't promote. These are clubs, you know, we keep thinking, oh, well, we got athletics, we got these other things. And then seeing people are interested in these clubs, we've been reaching out to representatives of these clubs and saying, hey, why don't you come and answer some questions, or do you have any video that you can provide? Ski and snowboard club, again, we're very flat here, where people think upstate New York, so there must be mountains, and there's no mountains around. But essentially, we keep finding interest, and if we see an interest in there, we want to find a student here who can help out and answer those questions, or at least provide us with some videos or some web pages that answer the questions.
Excellent. Well, does anyone else have a different spin? Are you only letting in students that have committed to the university? Has anyone opened it up to applicants? Is anyone authenticating students differently to let them in their groups? Everyone's doing the same thing?
I'll say really fast. I work in the communications office and not admissions, so I have a really close tie to the admissions office when it comes to these groups. But overall, the group is managed by myself and 6 students, and those students are just cool kids who were really excited about Oberlin and were really active in their own Facebook communities, and so they just kind of do their thing. So we allow people in if they are in the Oberlin network already, so current students or faculty, staff, or people that work here. And for the most part, if it's ED 102, you're not going to find the group unless you've actively tried to find us. So we list it in the acceptance letters, I believe, so people will know to find it there. And then a couple of people, like if they tweeted us saying, oh my god, I'm so excited, we'll be like, you should go to this link and find the rest of the people that you're going to be classmates with this coming year. So the only thing that gets a little more complicated is when regular decision happens, because they're not committed to coming to Oberlin yet, whereas early decision 1 and 2 kids totally are. They've signed their life away and they're totally excited about it. We found that energy is really great for convincing the regular decision kids that this is the kind of community they want to be in, because there's already that much enthusiasm and that much knowledge about the community going on. So overall, it's an interesting thing. I just lost my headphones, so whoops. So we actually let in anyone who says we would like to be a part of a group, but if they don't do anything or they start posting spam, we can remove them. And from my perspective, I have started asking the admissions office for just a list of names that I can use to verify people. For the most part, we just use our judgment, but we can go the next step if we really need to, if someone looks a little bit suspicious. Last year we had a couple of spammers who were just like, OMG, exam answers, and we're like, wait, no, what are you talking about? So yeah, that's we tend to just like reserve judgment. We want to be accepting to everyone. The only reason why it's closed is so like random people who have nothing to do with anything don't come in. So we just hope that people are self-selecting by seeing the closed little lock thing, I guess. But every so often you get somebody.
Courtney, is same thing.
We do a slightly different process just because we actually are the recruitment admissions office at Glendon. So we're fortunate enough that we do authenticate, or we try to do it based on their Facebook names, but quite often the Facebook name is the actual name they use to apply. So we do just a quick search in the system just to make sure. The way that we run it is that the students who are admitted into the group are the ones who have already received an offer. That being said, they haven't necessarily accepted that offer, so we use it a little bit as a conversion tool, a little bit as a hype building tool, so that the students who have already accepted and they're excited to come to Glendon, then they can help swing the fence sitters to bring them on over to our campus. For the most part, we get students who are mostly really keen on coming to Glendon anyways, requesting to get into the group. As far as spreading the news about the group, we'll do it through emails. We have a phone campaign that we do. Krista was actually busy doing it this evening, where we call every single student that's received an offer to congratulate them and just give them next step information. So we let them know through that means as well. So we try to get in touch as many ways as possible.
Krista, tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well,
how were people reacting?
Yeah, well, for me, I actually was just on Twitter, and I found one of the girls that I called earlier tweeting about the fact that she was called. And we're finding that a lot just as part of the ambassador team, like looking on Twitter and just finding students. And then I sent her an invite, just the link for our Facebook group through Twitter. Hopefully she's not too freaked out. But, yeah, and then within our actual Facebook page, like, a student just posted about being a bargain hunter and getting prepped for university, so I linked up Thrift Shop, the song, and just posted that. So that's my way of doing it, is trying to like bring in like popular culture and do things like that just to make Glendon seem really cool, because it is really cool. So
exactly. Does anyone else have other ways that they're sharing the links or getting the word out? So I've heard in the accept letter, through email, through phone campaigns. Is it something that you publish on the web anywhere, or is that too much visibility that you might get?
We tweet it and Facebook
those spammers in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we share it like on the main Glendon campus Facebook page. We'll share it, and we do mention that there is the requirement. So we always preface it with, "Have you been accepted to Glendon? Then consider joining other students in the Facebook page." That kind of thing.
Yeah, so we have it on our website, but then we also do this really fun thing in April where we send out a t-shirt that was designed by one of the students at Oberlin to the whole class. It was like a way to build community offline. And on that, actually starting last year, on that like packaging, we had take a picture and share it with the Facebook group with the link there. So it's another one of those like offline elements of communication to let people know that that group exists and to give them an action to do when they get there.
Perfect. So Mayan, while I have you, you were going back and forth between pages and groups, and I did the same thing. As Facebook was changing things on us back and forth, they've kind of toned it down a little bit, but settled on groups. For those folks that are still trying to figure that out, can you just give a quick rundown of why the group is the way to go?
Yeah, so, oh gosh. No, it's not even that you put me on the spot, but I was thinking about this a lot last week, and then like my entire brain is like melted since then.
Cool.
So the short version is, from the outside, a page looks like an awesome thing because from an official perspective, you can share as much stuff as you want with everybody who's liked the page, which theoretically is an awesome thing, but because Facebook doesn't really treat pages the same way they used to, there's no definite thing that your users are going to see what you post. So from an administrative perspective, perhaps it's a good place to start to get information out there, but in many capacities, what you're trying to do is build a community of people rather than trying to send them a bunch of stuff. So while you don't have, say, the I guess, Facebook Insight Analytics information on a group, you're going to get higher quality interactions from people because they'll be able to find each other, they'll be able to click on each other's names, and they'll be able to see everything notification-wise if they've become a part of the group, whereas from a page you aren't necessarily going to see it. So if what you want is to announce stuff, a page is a great thing, though knowing that not necessarily everybody's going to see what you post. But a group is a great way to build and facilitate communities. So that's the short version. There's a lot more from whence that came.
Beautifully put. My next question that I want to throw to the Oswego team is about monitoring and responding to the post. And since I have both of you sitting side by side, can you talk a little bit about how that process works? Because I know one of the first things that can be really daunting for those that are trying this out for the first time is, how are we going to manage this? Yes, Facebook is a free tool, but it still costs those human resource hours to put in and to make sure that everything's going smoothly. So what is your process over there at Oswego, and how do you keep up on things? How do you make sure that things are getting responded to, and who exactly is doing the responding?
Well, we're really lucky in that we kind of have a team of people that are all contributing to the page, because it's me and 2 other interns, and in addition, there actually are other current students that have joined the group because, for example, one student was asking about the broadcasting major. Tim knows I'm a broadcasting major. He simply could just tag me in a comment and say, oh, Heather Casey will know more about this, and then I could respond to the student right away. And even if I wanted to tag one of the other interns, oh, Mike's a marketing major. Oh, you want to know about marketing? Here, let me tag Mike. So it's easier. The fact that a bunch of us are looking at it is really helpful, and we can even just kind of like tag each other so that we have our like special interests. And even with the synchronized skating, I had my friend Brittany, who is the captain of the team, I had her join the group too. So it's good because we have multiple eyes on the group, and it's not just him answering every freshman's question. It's not just me answering all the media people.
It helps to be kind of obsessive compulsive and have no life too. But the good thing is we have so many eyes on there. There's always someone pretty much who can pick up, at least who knows something. Because I mean, I've been doing this for years with our Facebook, with the original Facebook page, so I know a lot of the stuff. And then one of the things that I talk about sometimes too is we've got a wiki of actual frequently asked questions, not the website frequently asked questions. What is the mission? What is the mission statement of the College of Arts and Sciences? This is an actual, really asked questions. Like people will ask questions, and we'll put them in a wiki and say, okay, well here's that question again. We just look it up. We can copy and paste it, or just make it a little bit different. But there's also some missions people. We've let in some people from orientation because that's going to be a big part of it too, very soon. And so it's really just, and then Ryan, one of our students, is a resident mentor in Johnson Hall. Johnson's our first year residence hall, or dorm, as the students call it. And so we try to make sure that we've got a pretty wide number of people who can answer. So there's not anything that's going to go unanswered for more than an hour or two, unless they ask it at 3 in the morning, because honestly I'm not awake.
So Tim, are you allowing the Facebook notifications to come into your email to keep track of this, or are you just going in and kind of looking at the activity feed and making sure you have a sense of the conversation? And
yeah, I wouldn't want them going to my email. My email is miserable enough as it is. But essentially for me, because I see the little number, like it'll be 1, or I'll actually decide to go do something, and I'll come back and it'll be like 11. I'm like, oh dear. And then I go in. Normally, they're just talking to each other. I will jump in a conversation if I have an answer. But generally speaking, it's been running fairly smooth. We haven't had to do too much crazy yet. I mean, I imagine there will be specific points when people will really be active, and our decision day isn't until May 1st, but we're going to be kicking up some other stuff before then to really try to build more excitement.
Great. And while I have you on camera, I know that you do some really interesting things responding to students' questions with video. Can you share a little bit of how that's been going?
Absolutely. We have one of our bloggers who's a freshman. Her name is Alyssa Levenberg, and basically she was interested in doing some video, and I said, why don't you do video as an incoming student? And so the show Alyssa Explains It All, which is fairly popular, she's been I talked to her, and she said, sure, well, she'll take questions from students, and so she's in there. And so students ask her questions there. They ask on Twitter. They ask on YouTube. And so she's done 2 episodes just answering student questions, like they'll ask, oh, isn't it cold there? What's there to do? The usuals. And then they'll ask about partying, and I'll be a little bit nervous how she answers those ones, but so far so good. And so, because honestly, if I ask it as an old dude, it's just going to be creepy. But if she's giving back answers, they're going to take her word for it a lot. And so that's been very successful. She's probably going to have to do a 3rd or maybe even a 4th one at this point, because we just have so many questions that students want answered, and we put in the videos. Been very responsive between that and between trying, if students have specific questions about clubs and that type of thing, trying to get current students engaged.
Great. And then, Krista, I'm going to throw this back over to you. I think one of your colleagues, e-ambassador, has also been doing some work with video. Are you familiar with what she's doing?
Yeah, so Sarah is pretty much the one who does all of our vlogging, Sarah Yeyu. And she has a YouTube account, and she'll just throw out challenges or respond to people's questions. She does a whole bunch of stuff. I think Courtney probably knows what the name of her channel is. I kind of forget it right now.
Yeah.
We sent out a tweet with a link to one of them, so they should be out there for those who are interested. But how are students kind of reacting to that additional media in the group? Is that something that you find is really popular? I know when we're posting things on our Facebook pages, the pictures are always really popular, and videos tend to be popular too. Do you find the same results within the groups that they like to see that media posted, or is it more about the conversations and the status updates and the posts that are in there?
For the most part with our group, a lot of it is just people talking back and forth, because we're still everyone's just getting accepted now and freaking out and being excited. So a lot of our content is that. But there are some videos and stuff, and they're pretty popular with students. It's just, I think right now we're still in the stages of everyone introducing each other. A lot of our group is just people making early friendships and having certain students who are really, really excited about joining, who have kind of become the fanboys of Glendon. So.
Yep, exactly. So what other plans does everyone have for content this year? Are there new things that you're going to try? Mayan, is video a part of your strategy, or are you taking more of a hands-off approach and letting them guide the way?
So interesting thing. So last year we actually had a little bit of a clamor for videos, and I was the only one who was capable of going out with a camera during finals week when people started asking stuff. So I ended up doing some really short video stuff, just 1 to 2 minute, this is what our like main quad looks like on a Friday afternoon, just like spun my iPhone around in a circle, and that was about it. So like that, I don't know, I got a little bit of progress, but like I don't know what it actually did for people beyond like getting them a little bit more excited about stuff. Video is definitely on our radar. That's actually one of our goals with our students this year who are helping us out. They've got a flip cam that they're kind of passing around their group to better document some on-campus happenings. But for us, the coolest thing that we've done so far with our incoming class that we've done twice, and I'm really hopeful we're doing it again this year, is what we call the OB Eager Video Contest. So during this summer, actually, not even during like the decision-making time, during the summer, just to make sure that people are like excited and still making things and like enthusiastic about coming to Oberlin, we run a contest of making a video where you demonstrate your enthusiasm for Oberlin in 60 seconds or less, which is kind of an interesting constraint, but like however you want to demonstrate it, awesome. So last year's winner, so we get all the videos, we narrow it down, and then we turn the voting back over to the community. So even if you didn't make something, you're still engaged with what's going on. And last year's winner was a like 58-second stop motion animation of packing for college. And then there's the year before was a duo of students actually in Virginia who went out and hugged people in the name of Oberlin. So it was just like spreading Oberlin love. It's really cute. I can tweet out links to those blog posts with all of the videos in them if you guys want. They're kind of heartwarming and delightful.
Awesome. Does anyone else have planned content, things that you know that at a certain time during the year you are going to be doing certain kinds of posts, or you're anticipating certain kinds of questions that you have prepared answers for? Do you see, I know that I typically see a cycle of a lot of housing questions, and then a cycle, a lot of schedule questions and faculty questions and those kinds of things, depending on what the students are receiving at different times of year. So anyone else have plans for those?
Yeah. We're doing, we're in the process of making videos for all of our residence halls. It's kind of like 3 reasons I live in blank hall. And my grad assistant, Kevin, is working on that with Res Life. It took Residence Life and Housing a long time to get on board with this, but now they're very excited. So they're supposed to get us a student in each hall so they can, so it's kind of customized there, because a lot of our residents, like if you go to a state school built in the 50s and 60s, all the residence halls look alike, which is, you know, not the best architecture in the world, but they are, but they all have their own personalities. It's about the people in it as much as anything. So that's something we're working on now. I should mention, if Mike Petrov's out there, one of the great things he did years ago at Emerson was show me blank at Emerson. So you could say, just kind of like what Oberlin does, kind of like the idea, you know, show me, could be, you know, anything at Emerson, they make a quick video and get back to it. And also, I was thinking of doing SUNY Oswego in 60 seconds or less, but now I see that Oberlin once again has done something more often. You have something?
No, you guys can do it too. We did it the first year we did it. Middlebury emailed us and was like, "This is brilliant. We can do it too." And we're like, "Yeah, totally. Just make stuff."
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we even have a bunch of admitted student days on campus coming up. And one idea that I brought to the table a couple weeks ago was taking the student bloggers on our school's website and having them sit at a table at these events and even live tweet. And one of the interns, Mike Lang, he wanted to actually see if we could get a TV set up so that with a certain hashtag, TweetDeck will show up on the TV so people will see themselves on campus walking around. Oh, this is what I saw on Admitted Student Day. And with the student bloggers at the table, it kind of gives a face to people that they are familiar with, at least from the online community, and kind of gives them maybe that like extra added level of comfort. Like, oh, I can ask Heather a question. She just talked about that on her blog last week.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Very cool. Yeah, we've done similar things at Admitted Student Days. Courtney, any other plans from your end for content?
We're actually doing something right now for a program that we're running next week called March Break U. It's essentially all the students just get to come and try on Glenn for Size to come out to, so they sit down in a class, they take part in a workshop. It's a small group thing, so they get to meet other future students, that kind of thing. So what we've done is we've gotten all the e-ambassadors to look through the list of classes that are being offered, and essentially just give us one really interesting tidbit about that class if they've taken it. So one professor, for example, who teaches reading Shakespeare, he always refers to Shakespeare as Bill or Shaky. So we're saying, like, you know, check out Professor so-and-so's reading Shakespeare class. He calls him Shaky, and, you know, he'll help you get to know him. Like, it's just something really casual. But by making that reference, we're actually making the recommendation for the students to join a specific class, which I think is sort of, it gets past that intimidation factor for students to come and actually pick a class to sit in on, number one. And then number two, we're citing which e-ambassador is that's making the recommendation. So if they've been reading that e-ambassador's blog, following around their tweets over the course of the year since September, then they may be able to trust their taste and trust their recommendations a little bit more than if it was just tweeted out from like the central account with no name or no recommendation attached to it whatsoever. So that's the biggest thing I think that we have going on right now, and we're doing it over Twitter, over Facebook, and also within the Facebook group, just to help promote and raise the attendance numbers for there.
Awesome. I did reach out to a colleague of ours from Beloit and asked him some of these questions. He wasn't able to join us tonight. Sorry, Alex, we miss you. But one of the things that he's incorporated into their Facebook group strategy is adding the official admitted student events within the Facebook group. And I want to kind of get your feedback on whether you're doing the same. I saw that as a real challenge for me and the admissions office at RIT, because students were saying yes to the Facebook invite but not actually registering on our site, and we had to do a lot of cross-checking back and forth to make sure that everything was the same and that they understood whether they were really registering or not. So are any of you doing the events? I can see where they could be really helpful to see who else is attending, but I know that we ran into challenges here.
Yeah, we'll be doing events right now. One of the things I did is post a poll. I love polls, saying which one are you coming to, and so some people say which ones they're going to, and then they connect there. I'm going to do the events, but I think and since I don't work with admissions, and admissions has been doing things a specific way, I think there might be the concern on their end, as you had, Ashley, that people will RSVP to those and think, oh, it's okay, now they think I'm coming to, and they're not. But obviously I'll have to be very specific about it.
Awesome. Very good. Well, I have a few more questions, and I want to make sure that anyone that's tuning into the live broadcast, if you have questions for our guests, send them over our way now with the Admissions Live hashtag. But I wanted to kind of get your sense of whether the Facebook group is really ideal, if this meets your needs, if there are things you wish Facebook would do for you, or if you had a never-ending budget, if you would be in the market to do something else outside of Facebook. Anyone have a different dream for your online community, or is Facebook doing a pretty good job in serving your needs?
I think the only thing that I have trouble with the groups is that things get buried really, really, really quickly. Now that we can pin stuff, maybe not as much, but I guess it's inevitable that's going to happen. That was actually the main complaint we heard from the incoming students last year, is that we couldn't find stuff during really high peak times, which were right after letters got sent out and right when roommate and housing stuff went out, and like it just like exploded, and it was ridiculous. Like no one could find anything. It was like a post every like minute or two. It was kind of, I don't actually know how people handle that. I was on vacation and only caught wind of it like the next day because of Twitter. I didn't actually catch it because of Facebook. I caught it because of Twitter. So the burying of information is probably the biggest thing, but I guess the secondary one is that a lot of questions get asked again and again and again. And I think part of it is because it's really hard to search within a Facebook group for stuff, but this year we're actually going to try and use one of the things that Facebook has going for it and create a document that we can edit every time we get an FAQ, which means that every time there's an edit, that post will pop up to the top of the page. And also we can refer people to the document when they ask the same exact question of how big is my bed and what kind of sheets do I need to get.
Right.
which I actually actively went out there and measured it so people knew the exact numbers, and now I know. But like we have to make sure that everyone knows that next year too. So the document thing is going to solve our problems for right now, but it's not a perfect solution because it's I guess the downfall of there being a really active and engaged community is that there's just a lot happening, and you have to either pay a lot of attention or you just tune it all out.
What Alex from Beloit had mentioned is that no matter how many logos or photos or things that he incorporates into the group, it doesn't quite have that same vibe that they want for their university. So I think he's looking for a little bit more personalization, customization, and would probably want it to be completely customized if he had that never-ending budget. Anyone else have things that they're looking for or think that would be really helpful to be incorporated into the group that would make the community stronger?
One thing I would definitely love to see with the groups in particular is just to have some sort of analytics or data associated with that. I've recently been on the quest of a lifetime to find something that will help with just some visualization of the connections that the students are making in the groups, because that's how I'm measuring the success of the group. And it's been almost impossible just to find something. A lot of the apps that have been built through Facebook have since been abandoned, and I was just having a lot of difficulty with it. I've since found one, and I've been using it, called Gephi or Jeffy. I'm not sure how it's pronounced yet, but it's a really neat graphing tool that's given me what I'm looking for. So essentially what I'll be doing is over the course of the next over the course of the spring, basically, until like all of the students are locked in with acceptances, is I'll just be running this graphing tool once a week, just so I can chart the connections that are being made. So the more students interact with each other, the more friend requests they're going to be giving back and forth, so we can actually see those types of connections. And the better the connections are, the faster we can make them, then we're knowing that we're doing something right to help them feel more cohesive within the group and then more integrated with Glendon as a whole.
Yeah, that's a really good find. It's a free tool, too,
yeah, it's
right? Did I say it's free?
Yeah.
So we just sent out a tweet with that link, and I actually have a screenshot that I can share if you can just describe a little bit of what's going on in this screenshot here.
It up so that each person who has a lot of connections has one color. So in my graph, the person who has a lot of connections is red, and the people who have very few connections are blue. You can also set up sizes, so the more connections someone has, they get a bigger dot. There's also a way, I believe that the graph that you guys can see is an anonymous one, so I've got no labels, no tags associated with it, but you can set it up so you can see names associated with each tag. And you can also play around with different settings and whatnot, really make it the way that you want it to look, so it's really customizable too.
Awesome. And I do want to throw this question to the students too, but I'm not sure if they're going to relate to me on my want for Facebook groups because it goes back to Facebook circa 2004 when Facebook gave us a really great advanced search for other people within Facebook, and you could pick what high school they went to, and you could pick, I was doing it to try to find boys at my college. I wasn't doing it for admitted students, but I could see where they lived and what high school they went to, and all those other kinds of tags that were in their Facebook profile. And advanced search is totally gone from Facebook. It's really hard to find people if you don't have their names and know what network they're associated with it. I don't even think that works anymore. So the kind of directory search is something that I think that the groups are really lagging because there's not there's not that ability to go in and say, I want to see who else is in the media major. How do I look through this directory of group members to see who else is in my major? So I guess it makes the lurkers ask, but I think it would be really helpful to kind of connect people if they knew that they were going to be in the same college together, they knew they were going to be in the same major. Maybe you could search by residence hall or search by some of the other kind of key factors that are unique to your university. So that's a want that I would have. But what about, from the students' perspective, is there anything that you would like to see in those groups that aren't quite available yet? No?
Trying to think. What I would say as far as what you mentioned about like people being within the same major, that's one of the things that's great about the polls. Oh, you're going on April 12th to admitted students day? So am I. Oh, you're doing this. And the thing is, you can open it up to other things too. And I found that a lot of students who are like one student, oh, I'm a broadcasting major. Like 2 or 3 people will comment on that post. Oh my gosh, me too. Oh wow, are you going to get involved in campus media? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? So they are able to make those connections, but it's just a matter, those are a few of the people, they're really familiar because they're frequenting the group. I think like I log in and I'm like, I'm not even going to see you next year, but I already know who you are, what clubs you're going to be involved in.
It's tough because if there was a way to tag it a little bit better, I know that there are some tools like that. Kevin Prentice at Red Rovers is working on some great stuff. Of course, this is my social media budget right here, 0. So it's kind of hard, but definitely ways that can connect them better, because you also talked about the fact that this broadcasting major will come on, the couple people will comment, and then we push down, and then someone will be like, oh, I feel like I'm the only broadcasting major on here. So how to connect them better. I know there are things out there, but obviously this has been so much more than we expected anyway. So it's trying to figure out the next step.
Yeah, and I wrote a blog post this weekend, kind of prepping for this show, and I do think Facebook groups are the way to go, and I think it's the least that you can do for your admitted student class is to set one of these up. And quite frankly, if you don't set it up for them, they're going to do it anyway, and they won't have that same quality of information that you could provide them. There are some other tools that are out there. There are a few Facebook apps that are created by Integral and Varsity Outreach, and then Tim mentioned Red Rover and Kevin Prentice, which is actually what RIT, my university, implemented last year and is continuing to use this year. So if you have a budget, I would highly recommend talking to Kevin at Red Rover because he's doing fantastic things there, and I've really enjoyed working with him. I do have to say that we make a Facebook group too. So there is still that kind of want to connect on Facebook, but where we're differentiating between Facebook and our private network that Red Rovers created is that Facebook's really what Kevin would call the dorm room, and that kind of really super friend social conversation. What did I eat today? And, what am I going to, how am I going to decorate my dorm room and those kinds of things. The Red Rover platform that they created for us is more of a student union, so more conversation around what bridges your academic life to that dorm life. But Kevin will always say that you don't want your faculty member in your dorm room. You don't want that faculty member invading on your Facebook space. And so that's why, you create the student union. But I think we can make those same kinds of communities within the Facebook groups, and they're doing a good job. Maybe we'll send this over to their team to let them know exactly what we want added into the groups. So I do want to start wrapping up the show and ask some final questions. I'm going to move over to Twitter to make sure that we didn't miss anyone out there. But I do want to hear any horror stories that you have. Is there anything that you've done in the past that you absolutely will not do again? Anything that scared your administration to death, and or anything that you can just pass along to others as words of wisdom? Hopefully there aren't horror stories.
I mean, the pages versus group thing, we actually dealt with that last year where we started a page for the class of 2016, and we got a bunch of people to join it. And then there were a lot of students being like, we can't find anybody. What's the point of us being here? So a student just ran off and created a group. And I was like, oh God, what are we going to do? So I emailed him saying, we would love to be a part of this, but we don't want to invade on your personal space. If you're okay with me just like hanging out in the background and like seeing what's going on, I would love to be a part of this. So I was added to the group. I let like our other students, like folks, know that this is what was happening and invited them to just kind of sit in the background. And then, boom, all of the forums got to people, and they had a million questions, and no one had any answers. So I emailed the group leader again, being like, are you okay with us starting to talk now? Because we can answer a bunch of these questions. So we politely infiltrated, that's the phrasing that we used, and basically said, hi, we're not here to spoil all your fun. We're here to answer all of your questions. If you want to ask us silly stuff, we can also do that. But the point is that we're here to help you, because with my incoming class group in 2006, the main flaw with what we were doing was that there were no resources for finding out information from campus. So it was basically just a bunch of misinformation and a bunch of hearsay and a bunch of, well, I think this is what it is because I found it on Google, going on between all of the students. So now that we have some like people who are actually here and having done all of the forums in the past and been a part of accepted student groups in the past, we've been able to kind of like nicely smooth everything out. So the horror story I have is, consider very, very, very deeply what your community wants, not what you want when it comes to creating a space for people.
Great advice. Any other words to the wise before I flip over to the last couple Twitter questions that are out there?
Well, I guess, one of the problems that we kind of have run into with our group now is people are talking about getting together, which is great that they want to connect, but when somebody posts, yeah, I'll have a party at my house, that gets a little awkward from a professional standpoint.
That's what we hear from admissions. What's this about a party on Long Island? You know?
Yeah. We had, I think in one of our first Facebook groups, a plan for, it was pudding or Jello wrestling the first week of classes that was being completely organized on our Facebook group. My approach to those kinds of things is just kind of to turn a blind eye and say, yeah, good luck organizing that. When you get here, we're going to keep you so busy. It's a fun idea, and I'm going to let that go, not rain on your parade. But one of the questions that's kind of along the lines of this that's on Twitter is, have you experienced students creating their own groups outside of your group? And if they do create their own group, what do you do about that? Has anyone had that happen?
We haven't this time. Last year when we were using a page but not doing much, they created an incoming freshman group, which was a private group. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they discussed there. Part of it's just if you keeping them happy, giving connections, giving content that they want, and being responsive and answering all that. As long as we do it in a non-obtrusive manner, I think that hopefully will keep that from happening.
Yeah, you can never stop someone from making a group.
Yeah.
So, well, good luck trying, but they can do it if they want to.
Exactly. We actually had a group of Oberlin students last year create a group called Oberlin Underground, the secret group for finding out exactly what Oberlin is like. And I emailed the person in charge of it, being like, we're not trying to like censor you here. You can do that in this group. And the person emailed me back saying, like, it's not about you, it's about us. Like, it's like all of the students just want this space. I'm like, go ahead. Know that if you need my help, I'm here.
Right. Very cool. One other question that I think is really interesting, that's kind of tangential to our conversation tonight. Has anyone tried doing a Twitter chat like this Admissions Live chat? And if so, does anyone have success stories on that? I know that we piloted a hangout at RIT with our student ambassadors a couple of weeks ago, and we didn't really tell anyone or invite anyone to it. We just kind of tried it out. But the students, my student ambassadors, really enjoyed doing it and are going to kind of try that again over the next couple of months. But have any of you posted something on Twitter or on Google Hangout or other kinds of chat tools? No. Okay. Well, then I will keep you posted on that. A couple of weeks ago, we did an episode with my students about Google Hangouts, and we don't really know exactly what we're doing, but it's interesting enough to pursue. So that was a really good question from Christina at Bryant. So thanks for the question, Christina. any last words of wisdom for those that are getting involved in this? For me, it's yes, it's a definite jump in there and do it now. If you don't do it, they're going to anyway. Those are my wise words. I don't know how helpful they are, but anyone else have things that you think we might have missed tonight?
Well, my advice would just be trust, and that's something I always talk about. We and probably anyone who's been around for a while had to deal with student bloggers and starting that, and I was like, what if they say something? Can we trust students? Just like you admitted these students. You have students lead tour guides, and that type of thing. So you should be able to trust them. And I think a lot of it is you put that trust in them. I feel like I'm treating you like an alien. I'm sorry, but again, the whole point is that these are the people who are going to make up our college. They're going to be our future. The last thing we should do is act like a bunch of chaperones and that type of thing. We should trust them to make this space their own. And I think that's when I know it's a success, is when the students have taken over all the chatter and I barely have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. That's the beauty about our one student blogger, Alyssa's video series, just because she came in as a freshman and she's answering all these questions already, and even the president of our college just thinks she's great, which is, it's awesome to kind of see like these like scary higher ups people like really like embrace what we're doing, and it's nice to be trusted. I can tweet from the SUNY Oswego account on my phone, which is kind of scary, but it's also really exciting at the same time, because it's like I feel like I do have a voice at my university, and I'm not just cool. Like one out of 9,000 people.
Very cool. Right.
I think
any others?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I think also just the fact that the more that you do, sort of building on what Tim said, the more that you do showcase that trust, especially in the Facebook groups, the more that the incoming students will see it, and they'll build on that. They'll build on the school spirit. They take it and they run with it. Whereas if it's just administrators or recruitment professionals or anything like that who are on the receiving end and doing the chatting and responding to questions, it's essential that you have those students in there so that they can showcase and set a bar and a standard for where things are going to go in the future. So it's not just the one-way direction, it's also looking towards the future with those groups.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your Tuesday evening to come on Admissions Live and talk about fun Facebook stuff with me. I hope you enjoyed it. And for those of you also that tuned in live, thank you for joining in. As always, you can catch Admissions Live on higheredlive.com on Tuesday nights, and we will see you next time.